Just 3 days from now, Kamala Harris becomes Madam Vice President. No thanks to those who may have tried to discourage her during her long career climb, as she told me during our visit last week.
I was raised to not hear no. Let me be clear about it. So it wasn't like, oh, the possibilities are immense. Whatever you want to do, you can do. No, I was raised to understand many people will tell you it is impossible, but don't listen. I mentor a lot of people, and I tell them that there will be people who will say it's not your turn, it's not your time, no one like you has done it. And I'll tell them, and don't you listen? And then I will go on to tell them, I eat no for breakfast.
There have been 48 vice presidents in the history of the United States, all of them men. Until now. In 3 days, Kamala Harris will become the first woman to be vice president, also the first black vice president, and the first of South Asian ancestry. Are you excited about January 20th?
I'm not going to let anyone take my excitement from me.
But she and President-elect Joe Biden come into office during some of the most troubled times our nation has ever faced.
I'm ready.
The pandemic, an economic crisis, and division made violently clear in the takeover of the Capitol on January 6th. Biden and Harris will be sworn in surrounded by unprecedented security. What are you anticipating on January 20th when, as a news person, I'm already seeing split-screen coverage of the 50-state Capitol domes where reports are that extremists are planning to be back here in D.C.? This is going to be...
This will be an inaugural like no other, in large part because of COVID. But we are going to get sworn in, and we're going to do the job we were hired to do. And that means focusing, for example, on getting people vaccinated. We want to get 100 million done in the first 100 days. It's going to be very tough to do it. We're going to reopen the schools in a safe way. We have to get to the job of healing America.
I represent all of you, whether you voted for me or against me.
That was a mantra for Biden and Harris. But the challenge they face was laid bare by the attack on Congress, exactly 2 weeks before Inauguration Day. January 6th was something seismic.
Yes, it was.
Something seismic
Yes,
happened.
it was.
May I ask, was the TV on? Did someone say, Madam Vice President-elect, you got to see this, come? How did that unfold?
I was at the Capitol that morning, and then I was in a meeting, and I was told that I should leave. And then I was taken to a secure location with my husband. We watched in horror. You are absolutely right. It was seismic. It was an inflection moment. You know, sometimes we think an inflection moment is the bringing of something that is positive. No. It was, in many ways, a reckoning. It was an exposure of the vulnerability of our democracy.
In a Senate now split 50-50 between Democrats and Republicans, as vice president, Harris will cast tie-breaking votes. A split Senate has only happened 3 times before. This one comes after 2 Democratic Senate victories in the Georgia runoff elections, just a day before the Capitol takeover. Still, the obstacles to the incoming administration's long to-do list are enormous. How can you look at that agenda without looking at it through the veil of what we saw on January 6th? When we saw, how did Walt Kelly put it in Pogo? We've seen the enemy, and it is us. And it is us. And that is true no matter which side you were on.
But Jane, this is not new. It is outrageous. And we will remember it like we have remembered some of the most significant. December 7th, we will remember January 6th. There are certain things we are always going to remember as an attack on the foundations and the fundamental principles and ideals which we hold dear. Yes, I agree with you in that regard. But come on, people walking around carrying the Confederate flag? This is not a new display. We've seen this. We saw this over the course of the last 4 years, and we've seen it in our history, in the world's history before.
It might seem that Kamala Harris was born for this moment in history. Her father, Donald Harris, a Jamaica-born economist. Her mother, Shyamala Gopalan, a scientist from India. They met at the University of California at Berkeley. They divorced when Harris was 7, leaving her and her younger sister Maya to be raised primarily by their mother.
She raised us to be proud, strong Black women, and she raised us to know and be proud of our Indian heritage.
She emphasized your Black identity.
She was very deliberate about it. I mean, my mother arrived in the United States at the age of 19 because she had a dream and a goal to end cancer. She wanted to be a scientist, and automatically, in the midst of those turbulent times, became very attracted to the civil rights movement. She was very active in the civil rights movement in the 60s and beyond. And she was acutely aware that she was raising her two daughters in an America where we would very likely be treated and approached based on our race and our gender. And so my mother raised her two daughters to be very proud Black women. Growing up, my sister and I had to deal with the neighbor who told us her parents couldn't play with us because we were Black.
Harris was bused to integrated schools in Berkeley.
You know, there was a little girl in California who was part of the second class to integrate her public schools, and she was bused to school every day. And that little girl was me.
She later attended Howard, a historically Black university, earned a law degree at the University of California Hastings College of the Law, and set off on a path to politics. You've been the first everything you've ever been: district attorney, attorney general of California, first, now first Black woman, first South Asian woman.
And first woman.
First woman, with belief in the power of government, and yet, as someone who prosecuted, sex crimes,
Yeah.
you knew those children, those teenage victims that you defended as a prosecutor, that you really couldn't change a great deal. How much do you expect in your first 4 years in the Biden-Harris administration? Is a generation going to be enough?
Let me tell you, at the risk of sounding like an idealist, I used to have this debate with my mother. I'd say, "Oh, Mommy, you're a pessimist." And she'd say, "You're an idealist." And then I'd say, "No, I'm an optimist." And she'd say, "Well, I'm a realist." So I exist in the spectrum between being an optimist and a realist. I've seen some of the worst of human behavior, to your point. I was a career prosecutor for a large part of my career, prosecuting child sexual assault cases. I've seen some awful stuff, and I've seen some beautiful, great things. And so that's where I exist. And I'm clear-eyed. Joe is certainly clear-eyed. We've got a big job in front of us, and it is not going to be easy.
An agenda further complicated by this past week's impeachment. Joe Biden and his vice president have elected not to weigh in on the next step in that process. In February, will we still be talking about Donald Trump's presidency through the impeachment process?
Let me be very clear about my position on Donald Trump. I strongly believe that he is incapable of being president of the United States, that he has been incompetent, and that's why I ran against him, and that's why Joe ran against him. So this is not a statement about Donald Trump, but the American people deserve that in their president and vice president coming into office, that we address the things that are weighing on them and implement a plan, and that's what we're going to do. It's not to the exclusion of many other things that need to be addressed around accountability, but that's our focus.